afternoon, everyone. How we doing? Thanks for joining us today. So I don't know how much Robin told you, but I'm going to speak briefly just about retail in the East and what we can learn from retail in the East and take it here to the West. I'll then invite a few people up here to join me in a discussion about the topic. So my name is Daniel Weisblum. I'm a senior intelligence manager at Coresight Research, located in New York City. Just a little bit briefly about Coresight. So at Coresight, we help our clients accelerate innovation and growth by focusing on disruption at the intersection of retail and technology. We help them understand what it means for their business. So we work with our clients, strategic advisory, we provide them research, innovator intelligence, and we do events as well. So for about 20 years, from 1990 to 2010, retail innovation flowed from the West to the East, right? So if you look at the timeline on the left, right, some of the businesses in the US had influences on the East. Or if you look at, let's say, social media from the mid-2000s to the late 2000s, right, they influenced similar types of social media companies in the East. Since 2010, that's kind of shifted. So if you look at, some of the businesses that we have on the East and how they impacted or kind of they came first and then how that translates to the West. So for example, L.me, which is it's like Uber Eats, right? It's a platform for food delivery, right? Founded in 2008, Uber Eats 2014, right? Shopping festivals, right? Like 11/11, which started in 2009. Prime Day, not until 2015, right? We Pay 2011, Apple Pay not till 2014. So this is just since 2010, the paradigm has kind of shifted, and the East has really influenced more the West. So how did this happen, right? How did we kind of leapfrog? So we'll talk really quickly. Reform in China really enabled them to leapfrog, right? So there were some challenges and there were some situations in China and the East that kind of prevented them from being forward thinking, and when that reform opened up, right, there was some reform and it kind of opened up and lifted some restrictions. And so if you look at, for example, right, cash-based payment systems and low credit card usage was a challenge in the East, and it led to the rapid adaptation of mobile payments, for example, right? Little data privacy regulation ultimately led to information sharing and emerging leadership in artificial intelligence. So, the idea that everything is known about someone and you have all the information about them can help drive more customizable experiences to potential consumers. So U.S. retailers, on the other hand, right, they're faced by some big challenges. A Coresight survey shows that 47% of retailers say that the largest challenge is how they personalize services based on the customer's needs. And they believe that, or the U.S. retail industry believes as a whole, that artificial intelligence can improve their relationships with their customers. So if we look at Alibaba's Fresh Hippo, for example, or this is an example of kind of infusing offline retail with technology. Buy online, pick up in store, right? BOPIS, right? Scan a QR code for product information, right? A customer at Fresh Hippo has the ability to go into a Fresh Hippo store, scan a QR code, and see, for example, when the produce entered the store, right? At, let's say, early in the morning, it's given a level 1, right? As the produce, moves throughout the day and you scan it later in the day, it'll move to a different level. And at a certain point, they'll pull it off and they'll bring it to cooking and dining, and then you'll be able to they'll prepare the food and you'll be able to buy it. So it's really giving the customer the ability to have the experience that they choose, right? The experience that they want. Another example of this, JD.com. they call it boundaryless retail, but it's ultimately the same thing, right? It's omni-channel. It merges online and offline, and it gives the customer the experience that ultimately they want, right? So in the East, consumers have a unique path to product discovery. If you look at a number of different companies, right? Zhihu, Weibo, Red, TikTok, they all are ways that consumers have the ability to find products. And you look at WeChat specifically, has 1.2 billion active users. It's a messaging, social media, mobile payment app. I mean, if we look a little bit more in WeChat, think about all of the applications that we all use today and that we use on a daily basis to complete a task, right? If you think about how many people woke up this morning and did some sort of meditation, right? And then we used Uber or Lyft to get from our hotels here. Maybe somebody ordered some food, or ordered at some point last night or today, right? We use Apple Pay when we, buy Starbucks, right? Maybe you went shopping in between keynotes or in between, going from point A to point B, you bought something on Amazon or Target. Look at the number of applications that we use to accomplish tasks and how simply in the East they have everything rolled up and have the ability to do everything here, right, in WeChat. So it's interesting if we look at the East and specifically the shopping festivals that they have, right? There are, for the most part, with maybe the exception of 1 or 2 months, there's at least a shopping festival in every month, and in some months they have multiple shopping festivals, and it just kind of, we'll compare it in a second to the U.S. and here in the West, but the number of interactions or opportunities to interact with the customer is exponentially greater in the East than we utilize here in the West. If we look at Singles Day 11/11 specifically, right? Alibaba in 24 hours on Singles Day did $38.4 billion in sales. That is more than Prime Day sales and the Black Friday weekend combined. So that's Thanksgiving through Cyber Monday, 17.8 billion, 5.3 billion for Prime Day sales, just over 23 billion combined between the two. Don't even touch one single shopping festival in China. So I think we have a lot that we can take from that, and maybe the experience, the ability to kind of give the customer the experience of shopping and kind of put the joy back into it. I think there's a huge opportunity here in the West to kind of take some of those things and implement them here and potentially lead to increased revenue, increased sales. So I think there's an untapped opportunity there. So that's a brief overview. If you're interested in subscribing to any of our research or have any questions, feel free to shoot me an email or go to our website or come see me after this session. So I'm going to invite a few people up on the stage now to join me. So Ricky Joshi, the co-founder and chief strategy officer at Saatva, is going to come up and join. Thank you. We're going to have Ross McNab as well come up and join. He's the president of North America Advertising at Cardlytics. And Martin Gilliard, the head of industry retail superstores and groceries at Facebook. Ross, from what I understand, you have some data on holiday sales and how multi-channel effect influences the retail experience that you'd like to share with us.
Sure. So probably worth just a brief understanding of our business, Cardlytics. We're a native ad platform that operates in the bank's digital channels. We run the cashback rewards programs for Wells Fargo, Chase, Bank of America. And off the back of those programs, we see about 2.8 trillion in consumer spend in the US primarily. That really allows us to look at three important things for our customers. The first is it is not siloed. to digital or offline. We see true omni-channel transactions. So no matter where the transaction occurs, the data that we have, the transactions, the purchase intelligence asset that we sit on allows us to see that, so we can map that clearly together. The second piece is then, it's not just about helping customers, helping our marketing clients reach their existing client base, it's also about how they can leverage the intelligence insights that we have to help them find new customers or find their customers who are spending with their competitive set. You know, as marketers, we tend to have a lot of intelligence about our own customers, how they're transacting with us, but not a great deal of intelligence about how they're transacting with the competitive set. And we're able to help brands do that. That's an important piece of the puzzle that we solve. And then the third piece of it is thinking about the credit, debit, and ACH transactions that we see as well. So it really doesn't matter about the mode of payment. In the end, it's the purchase itself that we sit on. We're able to take insights from. I think as we go on, we can share some of the omni-channel or omni-consumer insights, as we call it, that we see.
Cool, thank you. And Martin is going to talk to us a little bit about the Facebook's mission to drive in-store traffic, right? And Ricky, you're going to talk a little bit about some of the important steps of opening showrooms and how sustainability is a differentiator. So Ricky, quick question, we'll start with you. As an online brand, you have a lot of customer information. So can you talk a little bit about how you use data to select your store locations?
Yeah, so just also quick introduction. So co-founder and chief strategy officer for Saatva. We were actually the original and largest online luxury mattress brand. We are a luxury brand. We actually, by the way, work with Cardlytics, which is great, and they're fantastic. But one thing to differentiate it for us is we're not a bed in a box, so we actually did the hard work. We set up 155 distribution centers. We produce out of 18 factories. We have in-home installation and mattress removal, which is it allows us to not really be limited in terms of the quality of the product. So we don't have to worry about being under 92 pounds for a UPS delivery or whatever that is, and we don't have to worry about off-gassing and compression. So really, we were able to offer a kind of a hyper luxury experience, white glove with a hyper luxury product at a very accessible price. So we've actually branched off into brick and mortar. So clicks to bricks, here we are. It's kind of interesting. And I think, one thing when you come to looking at where to launch a store, people have always been looking at information and when they're trying to assess where to put a store, right? They're looking at visibility. You want to put in a retail spot, you're looking at foot traffic, all of those things. But I think what's really different is we have a lot of legacy data. So at this point, we're a 9-year-old company, and we know where in a particular city, for example, all of our transactions are occurring. So we can do sales mapping around a 5-mile radius, a 10-mile radius, a 15-mile radius. And because of that, for example, our first store is at 57th and 3rd in Manhattan. And we chose that location over Soho because we realized we're actually doing a lot of volume on the Upper West and Upper East sides. We also look at conversion rates. I think that's really interesting. So we realized that, if 100 people come onto the website on the Upper West Side of Manhattan, 2-point-something% are going to buy. In Williamsburg, that might be 1.4%. So there seems to be a higher desire for our product on the Upper West and Upper East sides, which helps us then decide to place a location there. We also have a lot of demographic information, so we really know who our customer is. So using things like Tapestry, we really try to figure out, which is kind of paints a picture by zip code of demographics. We're able to kind of figure out which zip codes align best with sort of our offering. So they're all of those things I think sort of factor into location.
Cool. And kind of, I guess, Martin, if we can jump to you real quick. So if you could briefly I think a lot of people don't necessarily think of Facebook, when you think of retail. So maybe you could talk about, Facebook's role in retail today.
Okay. So a quick question for the audience. Please raise your hand if you do not use Instagram, Facebook, or WhatsApp or Messenger. Okay.
One guy.
We have one person. So the
I'll show you how to use it later.
I think the biggest role that Facebook plays with retail is helping them have a dialogue and a conversation with their customer. In the beginning, it was about how do you show ads to the customer so they can identify who you are, similar to how you would do any traditional advertising. And if you think about retailers and the amount of data they have, being able to have creative messages that are unique to each user at scale is one of the few places where you're able to do that. And even if you think about where we've progressed as an organization, we now enable the ability for you to communicate with that customer. Because what we realize is that, unlike most trends where you think people shop at these tent poles, people are always shopping. Because the decision-making process happens every day. It doesn't just happen during Black Friday. And what Facebook allows retailers to do is to have that conversation all the time and to reach them at the right moment so they can actually win that customer's trust.
Cool. And staying here, Martin, for a quick sec. So, Facebook has been talking a lot about removing friction from the customer journey to create what they're calling a zero friction future. Maybe educate us a little bit on what that means, right? What does a zero friction future mean and look like?
Yeah. So the biggest thing that's happened in retail, because everyone will hear the stories about the transformation of retail and if it's dying, if it's growing, et cetera. But the reason why that's all happening is because there's friction from the changing consumer expectation and what we're able to actually build. Because the reality is that consumers will actually adopt new technologies and ways of communicating faster than businesses can meet that need. And so what that's created is this friction. Friction from a business that's built their entire existence off of physical store now has to figure out how to be digital, now has to figure out how to work in marketplaces. What Facebook has allowed people to do is to sort of skip that process, to allow them to think about being able to target people via inventory you have available to find physical stores and have the dialogue that will allow them to actually skip some of the friction points that people are running to in being able to find their products and actually purchase them.
Interesting. So Ross, speaking of data, there is a lot of data available in the market to inform marketing decisions, particularly around new customer acquisition, driving increased purchases from existing customers. So how are you guys leveraging the data and technology to help brands get a better understanding of who their most likely and most valuable customers are? And maybe give us a few examples of that.
Sure. So, I think as marketers, we know it's the right thing to do to put the customer at the center, right, and start there. But often, best laid plans, we still end up in very siloed approaches, digital, offline, and everywhere in between. And it's the ability to then tie those two things together. There is an enormous opportunity and headroom to do so. We talk a lot about omni-channel customers. We really coined a phrase at Cardlytics, the omni consumer, which really speaks to the fact that the customer doesn't think about the mode of interaction that they're having. It's really about how they want to engage with the brand, how they want to handle the commerce transaction, and stopping thinking about things in those siloed manners from a marketing perspective and thinking about it in the mind of the customer. Some interesting information, I think, goes without saying. 94% of folks these days shop in an omni-channel way, right? Nothing groundbreaking there. We all understand that now. But the fact is only 82% in the retail vertical that we see today have transactions from customers across those. 9% of that, really we see customers only shopping with the brand in one specific manner, online or offline. So you can see enormous headroom there. And then when a customer who does engage with a brand on an omni-channel manner, when they buy both in-store, online, and engage in that manner, the purchase uplift or the value of that customer on average in the retail vertical specifically is above 80% lift in the transaction value over a single channel customer. So you can see the enormous headroom and the value in taking an omni-consumer and an omni-channel approach.
Yeah, and Martin, something just real quickly that we talked about before, but within that same framework, so how should retailers think about Facebook specifically in helping them drive customers to stores, right, being omni-channel?
Yeah. So I will answer the question on how we specifically drive people to stores. But I think the ultimate goal is to get someone to transact. And I think a lot of what retail has ignored is the reason why someone would go in a store or the reason why someone would buy online. Sometimes those decisions are made by convenience. And I think the goal is to be able to find the customer and help provide the way that they want to buy, however they want to buy. So whether that's at your store, on your website, or even on Facebook. And I think what our role is in being able to drive people to the physical store is about making that choice obvious to them. Rather, it's if you understand within that cycle that this is a consumer that generally buys from my physical stores, when you are actually going to advertise to them, a great thing to do is to be able to show them where the location is in the ad. That's a great way of doing that. The other things that we have done, we've developed tools to be able to help retailers understand what's driving people to their store, what's driving people to buy specific products, and more importantly, a better way to actually reach the people that are actually engaging in their store but still not transacting there.
Interesting. So, Ricky, over to you. Why do you feel that direct-to-consumer brands are launching when you see traditional brick-and-mortar stores closing?
This is super interesting. When we launched 10 years ago, 9 years ago, it was an uphill battle, actually. You had to convince the customer that you should need to buy from a direct-to-consumer brand. Now you go to the mall, and the coolest part of the mall is like a Peloton and an Indochino and Shinola and all these direct-to-consumer brands. I was just actually home visiting my parents, and I mean that was where the cool spot was, and those were the full stores around Christmas time, and that's a huge shift, and you kind of wonder, why is that happening? Why are people all of a sudden shifting towards these brands? And I think direct-to-consumer really is about superior product, value proposition to the customer, having simplified SKUs that are effective, not creating complexity, but really offering kind of through data what the customer really wants. Being available, having fantastic customer service, and so I think all those reasons kind of have lended themselves to direct-to-consumer brands kind of thriving online, and now you kind of see that happening offline. I think the other thing is direct-to-consumer brands are hyper efficient. In terms of marketing, and maybe they're inefficient. At least they know they're inefficient. They're looking and examining, on a channel-by-channel basis, what's effective, what's not effective. And I think traditional retail historically has had some catching up to do in that arena. So I think that's another advantage. Finally, I think, when it comes to sort of having a proprietary brand, I think that means a lot. When someone comes into our store, if they want to buy a Saatva, they're going to buy it in our store. They're going to call someone. They might go just online in their home. To be honest, we don't care. Let them transact wherever they want to transact. We don't have a channel by channel kind of separation, and that's something I think that traditional retail hasn't necessarily thought. It's interesting. You sometimes you go to a traditional retail sort of store and you can't find that same shirt online or vice versa. The pricing might be different. They're not pushing the same product. It's been kind of a channel separation. We don't view it that way, and also because of our proprietary product, you can't go and cross shop us on Amazon. So that's, I think, a big benefit. Those are all, I think, good reasons. And I think just finally also, we don't have a lot of legacy systems that are kind of tying us down in some strange way. We're benefiting by being babies. We don't have super expensive things weighing us down and heavy, expensive integrations. Things are actually really simple when you start from scratch. And there are a lot of great tools and technologies that allow DTC to thrive. I think one, for example, there's one company that we're starting to work with called Worksmith, and they actually have an app that allows you to manage all your store operations from the app. Which means that you can have 15 stores, and instead of each individual one of your store managers having a credit card to get a window washer or a cleaner or whatever, they're actually just booking that person on the app, and you have one person on top of the whole apparatus. That fixes a lot of kind of, it takes care of a lot of paperwork and makes things a lot more seamless and easy. So I think those are all reasons.
Good reasons. Ross, you guys have massive data sets that you have access to through your partnerships with banks. From a data perspective, what does the data talk about in terms of, or what does it state in terms of, physical stores versus online, which is more important, right? What's the right mix between online, omni-channel?
Yeah, I think in the end, of course, if you look at it across industry category, the answer changes depending on each, but there is some commonality there, and I highlighted some of the insights that we saw in 2019. Looking at the intelligence insights. So again, it's the value of being able to engage with the customer in an omni-channel way expressly creates a higher value customer for the brand. It creates a better experience for the consumer and better outcomes for the business and real bottom line impact. And today, though, the size of the headspace and the upside opportunity there, in that just less than 10% of brands are currently engaging, in the retail space anyway, currently engaging with customers in a true omni-channel way. But those 10% that do, 80% plus increased value of customer is a compelling piece of information that we share. Ricky, would you mind, I think rapid evolution of your marketing programs, I think, is one of the benefits that a D2C business has as well. You mentioned an interesting company you were working with there. Headline on, big shifts for you, how your programs have evolved. You are babies still, early stage, but headlines on evolution, what you've learned?
Yeah, I mean, I think overall, as we've gotten more sophisticated, attribution and trying to figure out what channel is working is definitely one of the biggest marketing channels, and no one's really cracked the nut on that. But we do the best we can. As we get kind of more interested in kind of offline channels and offline marketing, for example, or for example, working with Cardlytics, we really do the best we can to try to figure out, what's working and what's not. That might be looking and doing a geo test, for example. So we might look at a certain geography and just spend a lot on TV in that certain geography, and we'll look, hey, did sales increase online? So as we sort of branch out and kind of create more channel complexity, we do the best we can to try to figure out what's driving revenue where. And I think it just comes down to really, really good testing.
I can add to that.
Yeah, please.
So I think in retail, when you, the challenge when you have a large number of SKUs versus few SKUs is very different. And when you have large SKUs, being able to move those products is very hard. I think in retail, the friction is created from an inventory issue, because in the beginning it was about a delivery issue. I wanted it and I wanted it now, and most people couldn't deliver that. But that has now become the standard across most of retail. And those who can't deliver that will lose. And so the stores that you see closing, probably they couldn't deliver in an appropriate time. But what that means is that brands now have to compete on basically who they are and building that relationship. But that story that you sell to them is different per customer. And so the challenge for most brands is, how do I tell 1 million stories to 1 million different people? And how do I create a mechanism where I have products that find people versus people that find my store? And I think what we've done at Facebook, we've built the system that can do that, but it still relies on the retailers and the brands to be able to create what that story is. We don't create your story, they do. But when you combine the art of what you combine in retail and the science that we provide in Facebook, it has shown that it has increased sales for every retailer that has adopted those things.
Thank you. I think, so thank you guys so much. That was really insightful. Give them a round of applause. Appreciate that so much. Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't know. I'm going to invite up Kerry Sullivan, who is the VP at Neutrogena, and Amy Herrick, Director of Merchandising, Beauty, Baby, Consumer at Meijer, to talk about their in-store experience using technology to translate to sales.
All right. So Amy and I are here to talk about retail experiences. We're going to talk a little bit about beauty routines. For guys in the room, get ready. We're going to get a little geeky on beauty, but we're also going to talk tech and data. I'm Kerry Sullivan. I'm the VP for Neutrogena. And I'm thrilled to be joined by my partner in crime in the retail space, Amy Herrick, who is the Director of Merchandising for Baby and Beauty consumables. For those of you who don't know Meijer, it is a very important retailer in the Midwest. The original supercenter, I think, Amy.
Original, yes.
And is really a true innovator in the space, and one that we partner with quite readily to iterate and really rapidly disrupt what we're doing with our brands to test and learn the future of retail. So we're thrilled to be here to talk about a couple of things. We're going to talk about technology and AI, And we're also going to talk about the human experience, because we can't have the tech and the data without the human experience that's so critical to the emotional connection to what we're trying to build in the industry. So that's our topic, and we're going to talk about how tech and the human experience can come together to translate to sales more readily, and frankly, to better outcomes for consumers and shoppers. And that's what we're here to talk about today.
Great.
Cool.
Thanks for having me.
Awesome. So I guess we'll just kick off.
Yeah.
First question. Amy, let's talk about how Meijer is currently innovating in technology in what could have been considered a very traditional brick and mortar space.
Yeah, absolutely. One thing that's really unique about Meijer is that we were the original supercenter format. And what that's enabled us to do is we're one-stop shop, right? We are now on, this is really exciting, we are now on our 10th year of consecutive same-store sales growth. How we have achieved that is our ability to test and learn and innovate and keeping customer at the center of our strategy. We know that the beauty shopper wants a personalized experience. That's what's important to her or him. And so what we do is we take a 360 approach. We look at the pre-shop, we look at the in-store experience, and we look at the post-shop, and it has to be a convenient, cohesive experience for her. One thing I'll talk about is what we focused on with the in-store experience. This is really cool. So we have a beauty digital end cap. So picture an end cap in a store, bottom shelves our product, and then there's a digital screen on the top of it. As soon as the customer walks up, picks up a product, that screen engages and starts talking to her about that product right away. What this does is that instant engagement, it allows us to educate the customer on that product that she's interacting with, and it's doing it by hand sensing technology. So it's really cool stuff. Our customer loves this. Why they love it is because it's instant engagement. So they don't have to do anything other than pick up a product, and it starts to talk to them. What's really cool is we're using beauty influencers. For those of you who are beauty gurus, you get your information from social influencers, right? That's where our trusted source of organic data is coming from. Those are the individuals who are speaking to our customers in our store and giving them advice on products, on how to build out a beauty ritual, and complete that total routine they're trying to go after. So the customer is loving it, and we're really excited about this as a way to focus in on that in-store part of bringing technology into their shopping experience.
It's an awesome example, and we love that end cap at Neutrogena. And it's a great example of, you think about how you used to shop and you'd walk in and in-store radio would push a message to you and dictate that you bought a product at a certain price point for a certain need. And now you have this amazing frictionless experience. We were talking about frictionless with the last group.
Yes.
And to be able to have that ease of experience and a bit of that bespoke, personalized experience in a brick and mortar environment is incredibly disruptive, and I think will have a lot of potential. I also love the integration of the social influencers.
Yes.
We just talked about east to west. You think about how powerful social commerce is for China. It's coming here, and so the social influencer is the authority and trusted voice in their community, and the more we can bring that to brick and mortar, the more powerful it'll be for our shoppers.
Absolutely.
It's an awesome example. I guess the next question that I have for you, Amy, as we kind of talk about where we're headed, is how do you bring together technology and that emotion?
Yes.
They feel at odds.
Yes.
But you do need to build an experience that is compelling and engaging in brick and mortar.
Yes.
How do you reconcile bringing tech together with emotion?
Yes, the emotional connection is the key to translating to a sale, something we focus on, and we do it in two ways. So one way is an in-store experience. Think of like an in-store beauty advisor, right? That's an easy way to create a connection. It's a human interacting with another human, very easy to create that personal connection and translate to a sale. What's more difficult is doing it with digital tools. And one thing that we've done at Meijer is we have a customer loyalty program that we call M-Perks. It's a digital platform, and what this allows us to do is we're constantly getting customer data, and we have two things that we're doing with it. One is whatever the customer's purchasing, we're learning from it, and we're starting to give them recommendations for additional things to purchase that we think they might like, incentivizing them with a coupon, a % off. That's an easy way to do it, right? The more advanced way that we're really excited about is we're using predictive modeling to look at similar households and what they're purchasing, what their shopping behaviors are, and starting to recommend products before the customer almost even knows that they need it or want it. And what this is doing is, if you think of you're a customer who is getting a recommendation for a product you didn't realize you wanted, as soon as you get it, that excitement that comes, that joy, that surprise and delight concept, that's the emotional creation that we're starting to be able to create through that digital experience, and we're finding extremely high levels of engagement from those instances. The customer is they're more interested actually in receiving a coupon for an item that they haven't purchased in that category yet, or they haven't purchased from that part of their beauty ritual yet. And we're really excited about it, and we're going to continue to focus on that model as a way to create that emotional connection, because that is, again, customer is the center of our strategy, and that is a very big part of how we're focusing on them.
Yeah, and I think what's so key in that is the precise feel that you
Yes.
get when you're spoken to that way, targeted that way, when it almost feels that you've anticipated someone's need.
Exactly.
And I think precision is going to be so critical in our industry, in many industries, but particularly in beauty and skin health. And Neutrogena, this week you may have seen that we launched an app, which is an AI-powered skin health coach. It's called Neutrogena Skin 360, and it's an app that's available online, although we are working and imagining in the future that it could connect potentially with our retailers and really kind of combine efforts. But you can download it today. It's available for iPhones, for Androids. It's free and ready for you, because we really want to be able to get that precise diagnosis out to the masses. And when we think about what an AI tool could do in skin health, there are so many consumers and shoppers struggling. There are more products than ever. There are more sources of data and expertise than ever, and it's confusing. And we know shoppers are overwhelmed and struggling to get the products that they need to have better skin health outcomes. And so between both building amazing in-store experiences and then having more personalized coaching opportunities through an app, we'll be able to more powerfully transform skin health for Americans and globally.
Yeah, we're very excited about this app. It's
Yes,
just another
we're
way.
geeking out on the app, Skin
Yes.
360, Neutrogena. So I guess as we think about predictive and predicting the future, what do you think is going to be next for us in the beauty industry?
If I only had a crystal ball. I think, we've heard it, it's been on the slides, everything is about personalization. That is where the future is headed. When I walk the show, when I read articles, it's personalization to the level of understanding someone's DNA. Like, it doesn't get more personalized than that. And utilizing that data to then create these customized beauty routines, or any routine for that matter, health routine. But for us, beauty routines are key. So to me, like, I imagine a world where we have an app, like the Neutrogena Skin 360 app, which is wonderful. We're integrating that into our Meijer personalized customer loyalty program, which then makes it actionable. So she's learning, she's understanding about her skin. We then take that, integrate it to our app, and can now give her recommendations of what to use, where to buy it, what the price is, and it removes that need for her to do any sort of research at that point. We are a trusted retail to her. We have trusted beauty advisors and influencers, so now she just trusts our recommendations. And what we do because of that is we give her time back, right? I think that is huge. Everybody wants convenience at this point. So we're taking the guesswork out, we're giving her results faster, and we're giving her time back. And to me, I think that is something that everybody in this room would sign up for instantly. And that's really where I see the future headed. From a retailer standpoint, from Neutrogena's standpoint, what do you think?
Yeah, I mean, I think that the personalization, hyper-personalization is going to be, and hyper-personalization at scale is going to continue to evolve disruptively. And then when I think about what that will become, right now we're in a position to be able to diagnose your skin, tell you what your skin might be experiencing, get you a more bespoke regimen, help you with tailored advice in-store and online. But if we can anticipate what you might experience for your skin in 10 years because of your current lifestyle, because of your current skin condition, because of your family history, if we can anticipate that in 10 years you think you're going to suffer from fine lines, but actually you're going to suffer more from dark spots, and here's something you can do now to make a difference in your skin.
Yes.
And really be able to even build products that are better tailored to get after that prevention. I think that for me would be the incredible use of data and AI.
Absolutely.
So, awesome. Well, let's get after it and
I think that's our
hyper-personalize. Thank you.
I think that's all the time we have. But thank you guys so much. It was
Thank
really
you.
insightful. And
Yeah.
enjoy the rest of the show, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you, everyone.